Hello and welcome to Tinkering with Tyvek, one of my most favourite workshops. I hope you enjoy it. Here is what you will need materials wise. As far as heat tools go, you're going to need an iron, not one you iron your clothes with, preferably a craft iron. I use a 2200 watt, but you can use anything up from a 1200 watt. I wouldn't use a little craft iron. You need a proper iron for this. You'll also need a heat gun. This is a 300 watts. They vary from 300s to 350 watts. Preferably not a great big paint stripping heat gun. But if you have that, you just have to be a little bit more careful, as you will see in the videos. If you want to decorate your Tyvek with holes, you can use a soldering iron, which works extremely well because it obviously melts the Tyvek. You get lovely effects with it. But when you work with a soldering iron, I'd recommend that you use a terracotta flower pot to use as a stand, rather than the stand that comes with your soldering iron. And also I'd recommend that you have a cardboard tube with some wire wool in it, just to clean your soldering iron, because the polyester and the polyethanol can build up on the end of your soldering iron. Okay, so just some wire wool in a tube. Then you'll need Tyvek. I use A4 sheets of the kind of almost heaviest Tyvek. There are 5 different weights of Tyvek that I know of. These are 75-gram sheets of Tyvek. They're A4 and they're handy enough size, and you can hear they're reasonably stiff. They do everything that I need them to do. You can also have fabric weight Tyvek, which the scene of crime suits are made out of. It is literally like a fabric. And if you're buying it as a scene of crime suit or as a overall for working in a hardware store, you need to make sure that the suit has Tyvek written on it. Otherwise it won't be Tyvek, and you won't be able to do these processes with it. To paint the Tyvek, I use acrylic paints. You could use watercolours, but it doesn't have a great saturation of colour, and acrylics can be watered down. You don't need to use them full thickness, otherwise the heat won't get through and melts the Tyvek, or even texture the Tyvek. So just use acrylic paints. I'll show you quite clearly how to do this in the next video. When you're painting, I'd recommend that you use an old water jug and a wide paintbrush. I use a 2-inch wide decorator's paintbrush. I find that very handy. You will need scissors, but not your best dressmaking scissors. Use craft scissors, anything, but do not use your best dressmaking scissors. When we're making beads, you'll need a long metal knitting needle, not a plastic one, because there's a chance that it might melt. And you'll need some quite fine wire, something that has a memory so that it will hold its shape. So you can knot it just to keep your bead in place when you heat gun it. It doesn't have to be this pretty colour. It just needs to have a memory. You can use garden wire if you like to. It doesn't really matter as long as you have some wire to hold your bead. You'll need some transfer foil. This is heat transfer foil. It comes in many, many different colours. I use gold in the video, but you can use so many different things. It's not gift wrap paper, it's heat transfer foil. And if you have any problems finding this, just drop me a message, and wherever you are in the world, I'll see if I can find some for you. If you're layering up your beads and your Tyvek to make all the gorgeous heat gun textures, you might fancy having some polyester organza on hand, or nylon organza. This is synthetic and melts really nicely with a heat gun. So any colour you fancy, you might even have some in your stash, but this heat guns really nicely. What's really important is a roll of baking parchment. So silicone coated, non-stick baking parchment. Doesn't matter if it's white or brown, but it must be non-stick. You can buy rolls of baking parchment and greaseproof paper, but just check that it says it's silicone coated on the packet, because you really don't want it sticking to anything. When you're making the bowls, you will need a Pyrex or a really nice strong bowl, not a plastic bowl. So A Pyrex bowl, which has a reasonably steep side, would be quite nice, not too wide. But just use what you've got. Don't buy anything specially, particularly not at the start. And if you happen to have bowls that stack inside each other, then that's even better. And to work with the Tyvek, when you're making the bowls, you will need some suede gloves, or a suede glove, the one that goes onto the hand that you use your iron. So you need one. I'm left-handed, so I use my left-hand suede glove. You need a suede glove, not a plastic glove or a rubber glove, because we're working with heat. You also need some cotton or polycotton sewing thread if you're stitching your layers together. And you may well need some hand sewing needles with pointy ends if you're going to decorate your Tyvek bowls with hand stitch. To layer up and machine stitch the layered and zapping process, you will need to be able to drop the feed dog or cover them up on your sewing machine. I think you can just see them here going up and down. I've got a little switch on the side of my old Bernina, which brings them up and brings them down. You don't want anything here, so that you can slide and free machine embroider your Tyvek layers. You will also need an embroidery foot or a darning foot. I have an old Bernina 707, which does me extremely proud. I absolutely adore it, and it goes through Tyvek really well. Now let's get started with the videos. I hope you have fun.